All right. Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Sky over here. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Yes, I'm still in my room, but just kind of on a different angle. So I hope you guys can see me okay and hear me okay too. So it is another Thursday, which means it's another Bubble Talk. We're on Bubble Talk 41, and I hope that everyone is ready for today's topic. A lot of people are asking me, like, whoa, the topic's kind of crazy. The topic is about ready to date, right? So before we get into the topic, a couple things I want to talk about. Shout outs first. Shout outs to the people coming out early: Jet and Yanlan, Tuli, Bagana, Sana, Maria, Wen. Thank you so much for coming early and chatting up a storm. What are you guys drinking? I am drinking on the Bubble Talk. I'm drinking my Earl Grey milk tea. Of course, this is my favorite of all favorites. All right. And also, let's take a look at the winner from last week's bubble tea winners. Yay! One person without a face, but that's okay because I'm assuming that's Shanice. All right, cool. So those are the winners from last week. We're gonna give out some more bubble tea today, so everyone get yourselves ready. It's gonna be a very, very easy topic about today, and it's a holiday in another country, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so. Just quick thing before we start is make sure that if you have any questions at any time, and I know on this topic people have questions, right? If you have any questions, just go ahead and write them down. Write them down anytime during the entire talk, and we'll put you in the queue for the questions to ask. Cool. Okay, so get your drinks ready. I got my water and I have my my bubble tea ready. And today's topic is a very interesting one. It's a fun one. It's about ready to date. Okay. Now, here's the first thing is I know some people's expectation is, are you going to give me some good advice so I can date better? And the answer is not really about you dating better. Okay. It's something that's I'm going to work on the mindset you're supposed to have before you get into any of this stuff. There's no secrets like, here's a secret to dating. Here's a secret to getting this or that. Okay. So let's start off with what dating or what life was like way back then. Well, for me, it's way back then, more than half my life ago, right? We're talking for me about 27 years ago. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Like somewhere on that line. Okay. So 20, no, not 27, 25 years ago. All right. So let's go back to like middle school and high school. Okay. So we're talking about dating. We're talking about like high school relationships. And we've all seen it. We've all been through high school. Some of us are in high school right now, but you see it all the time. High school is not really high school. It's like hormone school. Okay. It's just you walk in and hormones are bouncing everywhere all over the walls, right? It's just hormone central. Okay. So, like you look and you see the girls gathered in one corner here and they're like, they're all giggling on one side. All the other guys trying to look cool on the other side, and a lot of them, even though they try to look cool on their face, they kind of look like they have a dumb look or like clues, like, right? So we have this high school, and here's the crazy part. In high school, all that stuff that goes in high school, I just want to tell you guys who are in high school right now and middle school, it never happens after high school. It never happens like that, right? It's totally not a real place, okay? It is a place after after university, like way in your 20s and you get to your 30s, things are a lot more calmer and cooler, but it's not like as giddy as things are in high school, right? So in high school back then, they're not normal relationships. They're not normal at all, right? If you look back at it, you're like going, oh my gosh, people do it like that? That's crazy, right? Because after you have the stage, you have all these people, like all the hormones jumping around, and then all of a sudden they have the dating scene. And the dating scene is kind of interesting because it's when everyone is like very nervous and awkward. Right? So you're like meeting like girls, like I'll meet girls and my hands are all sweaty. I'm like sweating. They're like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine, right? And it's really awkward. You don't know anything. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to act, and you don't even know how to control your hands. You're like, and they're like, what's wrong with your hands? Like, nothing. I just like to move my hands around a lot, right? And then after that dating stage, you get into that, I call this the expert stage, even though it's far from it. Okay. And this is when people start giving really dumb advice. Like all of a sudden they've dated one person for like 2 weeks and they're the expert of everything. Like, oh man, so like, told, yeah, you know, dating is like so, and they talk like they're experts giving dumb advice to people, right? This is what happens in high school, right? Like the girls that met this guy's like, no, guys are totally like this, and guys are like, yeah, man, they're totally like this. They have no idea what's going on, right? And then, of course, the last stage after the dating stage, this will happen 99.99%, which we call the breakup. And you got this crazy breakup, super emotional, lots of crying. Then it turns to anger and gossip, and then you say bad things about each other, and then you don't even want to be in the same class, and you're just embarrassed all the time. It's a really, really awkward time, right? And it's crazy because your entire world collapses after dating someone for 2 weeks. It's really weird, right? And this is kind of like how dating kind of starts, right? And it's really awkward, really weird. And it's kind of like, you know, like, what? Like, well, what are you saying? Well, like, how do you know you're ready to date? Right? How do you know? Right? What is the thing that has to lead towards you? How do you know you're ready? How do you know you're ready to do something? How do you know, like, are you ready to date? And the answer is like, oh my gosh. If you think about what you guys are like in middle school and high school, you're like going, oh my gosh. High schoolers should never date. They have no idea what they're doing, right? And it's really weird because even in university, it's kind of like, it's still like kind of like jelly blob, okay? So let me tell you 3 reasons what not to do, okay? 3 things, you know, don't date for these reasons, okay? And this is something that I really want people to get in their heads. Number 1, don't do it for experience. Experience is not a reason. Experience is what you get after you do something. It's something that is a result. It is not a reason, right? You don't date for experience. Like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine like that person that you're dating, or like, you know, and you're like going, oh, hi, oh, why do you like me? And they're like, I just want experience. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, why would I want to be with this person if the only reason they're going to do this is for experience? Experience is a terrible reason. Is not even a reason. Experience will come no matter what. It is a result of everything that you do. It is not the reason you do something. It's kind of people who use experience as a reason for dating are the ones that can't, you know, they feel so terrible inside because they broke up and they don't want to feel bad about themselves. So they're like, yeah, man, you know, we need experience, right? Yeah, I really needed the experience. You don't need it. Trust me, guys, you don't need that. It's a terrible and wrong reason to date, right? Remember, experience is a result. It is not a reason, right? You're not, yeah. If you just try saying that to someone, they're not going to respond very well if you tell them the only reason I'm with you is because I want to experience dating. They'll be so angry, right? Think about this. How many people want to experience getting your heart crushed? Oh, I just want to experience it. I want to experience crying every day. I want to experience not moving. I want to experience like not eating. I want to experience like this feeling inside my chest that caves in, and then the whole world around me turns dark. Yeah, I want to experience the end of the world, right? No one volunteers for that type of thing. It just happens, right? It's not a reason. Right? No one wants to, you know, no one wants to be like screaming on the phone. No one wants that. Do you want that? Is that what you want? You want that experience? No, experience is not a reason. Second thing, don't do it for feeling. And I'm telling you guys straight up right now, as someone who's lived probably double and maybe triple the amount of lifetime as you guys, feelings are deceiving. They're usually more wrong than they are right, especially when you're younger, right? If someone says, oh, I feel something in my stomach, I feel they're the one, and I'll be like, no, it's probably the spicy food you ate before. Is not the feeling. No, that's not love. That's not love, right? You're like, oh, I feel they're the one, and you break up after 3 days. Oh, they're the one. You break up after 10 days. Oh, and then you break up after 1 month. No, that is not. Don't go off feeling. Feelings are very, very deceiving. It shouldn't be the number. I'm not saying it's not a reason. I'm just saying it's not the number one, the main reason why you're with someone. There's so many times we have feelings and the feelings aren't right. So many times, right? How many times did you say, oh, this is for sure, and it didn't work out? So many times you can't even count, right? So number 2 is don't go by feeling. And the last one, the thing not to date for is just because everyone else is doing it. You know, like that atmosphere is there. Like everyone's dating except you, and you're like, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with me? Oh no, there's something wrong with me. I'm the only one that doesn't have a girlfriend, right? And it's like, no. That's not the reason why you do it, right? Because honestly, with all these reasons, test it out. Like really test it. Like if someone says to you, "Oh, why are you dating me?" "Oh, because everyone else is dating." how would they feel? How would you feel? "Oh, why do you want to date?" "Oh, because all my friends are dating and I feel totally left out that I'm not dating, so I'm dating." And you're like, what? It doesn't make any sense, right? And that's why the thing you have to think about this is, don't do it for those reasons, right? Don't do it because everyone's doing it. Don't do it because you feel something inside. Could be like the spicy, like Indian food you had right before. It could be anything, right? And of course, the first thing I said is don't do things because, what was the first one I said? The first one I said was don't do things because of, just because I want experience. Like those are not reasons to play with your heart and to play with your life. Okay. So now that you have 3 reasons why you don't do it, I'm going to give you 3 advices, right? 3 advices for you to get into a relationship. What are the 3 things that you can learn today before you get into a relationship? I want you guys to think about this very, very deeply, right? I want you to think these 3 things to keep in mind before you get into a relationship. Okay. Number 1 is purpose. There has to be a reason why you're doing it, right? And it has to be a good enough reason, right? You can't, like, that's like I was giving you those, when you ask imagine someone tells you the reason why they're dating is for experience, you wouldn't feel good. If they said because, what was the other one I said? The other one I said was, the last one. Not feeling, it was experience, feeling, and because everyone else is doing it, right? It's like, even when you think about this, it's like, if someone told you that reason, you wouldn't feel good. Right? There has to be a real purpose towards why you're doing these types of things, right? And this reminds me of a verse because, for me as a person of faith and as a pastor, in Isaiah 46:10, it just talks about everything about God. God has a purpose for everything. There's got to be a reason for something. There's a reason there's a tree there. There's a reason there's a rock there. There's a reason for a straw and a cup. There's a reason for everything, right? You can't just do something for no reason, right? And that's why in the same way too, if you're dating and you ask someone or you're married and you say, "Hey, why are you dating me?" And if they can't even give you a reason, you feel terrible. There has to be a purpose, but the purpose has to be good enough also. So my question to you is, there's a proper purpose for everything, but do you know why you're dating? Or do you know why you're getting into a relationship? Is a better words, why are you getting into a relationship? You need to know why you're doing it. Now, here's the thing that you have to understand is because people don't understand themselves very well, their brains and their bodies, one of the biggest problems is they think that it's love, but it's not. Let me tell you how biological it is that people in high school, middle school are totally freaking out in their minds, okay? So from around 12 years old to 14, 15 years old, there's something that changes in teenagers, right? When you become a teenager, there's something called puberty. This is a normal, natural thing that every human being goes through. And it's really crazy because once you hit puberty, your thoughts begin to change. Hormones go into your body. And all of a sudden, instead of hating girls, you start to like girls. Instead of hating guys, they kind of look cute, right? It's really weird. Like once the hormones kick in, what was the original reason and like the biological reasoning behind it? When you hit puberty, it means that your body's getting ready to have babies. Now, here's the thing. When can people have babies? They can have babies after puberty. Once you hit puberty, you can start having babies. So does that mean everyone should start having babies when they're 12, when they're 13 and 14? And the answer is no way. But way back in the past, when people didn't live that long, they hooked up and they got married, not married. Well, they started to have children the moment they're able to have children. Why? Because their lives didn't last that long, right? Here's the problem. Here's our bodies going through puberty and we're getting ready to reproduce and have babies at like 12 to 14. But nowadays, when do we get married? When do we have kids? Like 30, which means we are holding off our hormones for like 15 extra years. You're making your body wait. And this is why it's really difficult. And this is why one of the things that people, I always ask people, I counsel lots of students, right? Whether high school, university, whatever it is. And I always ask them the question is like, why do you want a girlfriend? Like, why do you want a boyfriend? And like the number one answer always is like, I need someone like a best friend, right? I want a best friend. Totally someone I can talk to and someone I can just like say everything. And my answer to them is, but isn't that what a best friend is? And they're like, yeah, but it's different. I'm like, what's the biggest difference between a best friend and a boyfriend or a girlfriend? And guess what it is, guys? The only difference between the two is the physical touching. That's all it is. That's the biggest difference, which means that you want a boyfriend, girlfriend when you can, if you just want a best friend, then you can get a best friend. But why do we go for a boyfriend and girlfriend? Well, we don't understand how our bodies are working. Like your body's not saying to you, hello, I'm the chemical hormone testosterone, and I'm going to shoot into your body. And now you're going to like girls because of the hormones, not because of your mind, not because you're falling in love, because of chemicals, right? Your body doesn't tell you that. We're just like, oh, I like girls. Oh, I can't believe I said that. And then you start liking girls and you start liking guys. Your body naturally goes through that stage to reproduce so the human species doesn't run out, right? Especially back then when you were dying very, very early. The biggest difference between a best friend and a girlfriend or a boyfriend is basically the physical part. If you really want a best friend, you can get a best friend anywhere. But why do you want the extra mile? Because we have hormones. And the reason why we want to get like a closer person is more chemical than it is I really fell in love. Because when we talk about really falling in love with someone, you would never leave, right? It's true. If someone says, I love you so much, when you people get married, when they say, I love you till death. I love you even, I'm going to love you until I die. There's no one else in my life, right? And this is what real love really is. And this is why the purpose has to be very big, but you also need to know why your body's going through these things. And sometimes you just got to realize, oh, this is a natural thing my body's going through. And, I don't need to do this. I don't need to go through this right now either, right? So there's the first thing is knowing the proper purpose before you get into anything. And you need to know the purpose of dating. The purpose of dating, I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to tell you this right now, is not because you're lonely. That's something completely different. Are you bored? Matt, guys, girls, try telling that to the person you're dating. Why are you dating me? Because I'm lonely. Because I'm really bored. Could you imagine if someone said that? You'd be like, oh my gosh, we're breaking up now, right? Why are you with me? Because I'm lonely. What? That's more of a individual issue. Loneliness is not something, you know that people can still be lonely even when they're with someone. They can, right? People can still be bored when you're with someone. You can, right? That is not an issue of dating or not dating or being in a relationship, right? It's the wrong reason. There are many wrong reasons and only one right reason to do something, especially when it comes to a relationship. Second thing, and this is something that I'm going to use it in this terms, but I'll tell you why I use it. I'm going to say God is fair, right? God is fair. What does that mean, right? So if you look at like Romans chapter 2, verse 11, it says God shows no favoritism, right? And what it means is when you think about what does it mean? What do you mean God is fair? People will only be with other people that are just like them at their same level. Put it this way, if someone is way better than you, you know what happens? It's a burden. You're like, oh my gosh, it's so hard because you have to catch up to them and you have to become that good, right? And the person who's too high, they have to drag this person all the time. It's not fair. It's not equal. That's why everyone eventually finds someone equal. Usually you'll find someone same finance, same school level, same work, same job, like people are always finding and matching the right times. This is like, for instance, in middle school, like someone in middle school is not going to date someone in university. Levels are completely different. Maturity is completely different, right? And what we need to realize is that no matter what, even if you're like 12, you will find another 12-year-old. And what kind of relationship will that be? It'll be at the level of a 12-year-old relationship. It's never going to last. It's not going to be real, right? What we have to realize is, the point I'm trying to make here is, if you want a great person, if you want someone amazing, then what does that mean? You have to make yourself amazing first, and then you'll find those types of people, right? People are flocking to people that are just like them at the level of success, level of character. Everyone's looking in the same areas, right? And what we have to realize is because everything, just naturally, we don't want to be with someone too high, right? Like how many of you like go to a super expensive restaurant, like beyond your money? You feel uncomfortable. It's like, oh my gosh, if I want to just get a Coca-Cola, it costs me like $15. Oh my gosh, that's what I usually pay for lunch. But that's just for a Coke and not even the whole can, right? You're like, what? This is so expensive. Here's a salad, $45. I'm like, what? This is crazy, right? We feel very uncomfortable. And even if you go to a place that's too low, you still feel like, oh my gosh, it's so dirty. Oh my gosh, oh, I don't like it here. People like to be somewhere in their range, in their area. And that's something that we have to realize too, right? You have to always be, you got to make yourself so that you'll find someone at that level, right? What does it mean? It means that you have to make yourself more than anything else. And then when you get to that level, what happens is when you become that mature, when you become that smart, intelligent, have a good job, and you have a good head on your shoulders, this is when you find other people that are just the same. Because if you're at this level and you see someone totally like this, you're like, oh my gosh, this person, get your life together, right? So what I'm saying is, even if you're like 15 years old, the problem is you're only going to meet another 15, 16-year-old, and it's going to be at that level, which is it's not going to give you that much joy and happiness. There's no point. Which leads me to the third thing. And this is something that's really important that I want everyone to think about is you got to count the cost. What does it mean to count the cost? Right? In the Bible, there's a very, very famous verse in Luke chapter 14:20. Basically just says, Luke 14:20, it says, if you want to build a tower, first you have to sit down, estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it, right? And here's the thing. When it comes to relationships, there's three things that you're, in life, there's three things that you do not have an unlimited resource of. Number one is time. Number two is money. And number three is emotion. These are not unlimited things, right? That's why people eventually break down, holding themselves like emotionally. You can hold yourself and finally just break down and you ball like crazy, right? What does it mean? You have to calculate, you have to count the cost if it's worth getting into a relationship or not. Let me give an example. When people are in high school, and I'm telling you, high school, university, if you don't have a job, you don't make much money, you have to realize dating costs money. Relationships cost money. You want to impress them. It's crazy. It costs money. You have to think about that. It's time that you have to take out of your day, right? It is. You have to think about it. Emotion you're putting into it. Why you have to think about this? Because if you're in school, if you want to do well, you're taking time from school. You're taking the emotion where you can't think properly in your studies or your school. You're taking money away that you don't have. You keep borrowing. You get a credit card. It's crazy. You have to think about those things too, right? Like getting into a relationship is not a simple thing. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of your emotion. I'll tell you this one story. When I had a friend in my basketball team in high school, all of a sudden he's playing the best basketball ever. Why? Just got a girlfriend. So awesome. We were like depending on him. He was so good. And then halfway through the season, he's terrible. Why? Because he broke up with his girlfriend, couldn't do anything, studies, and everything went down. You got to think about it, guys. It's not something you're just going to think about. Like, here's the thing. People don't really think about it. They don't really think about it to themselves. They just kind of run into it. Like, who does that, right? Who does that? Like, are you really ready for a relationship? And think about yourself. It's not like you just go, relationship, and you run in like, oh, really? No, that's not the way it works. It's something that's so important. It's your life. It's your heart. It's your time, your money. This is why people feel, at the end of a relationship, like all that time, all that money, all that emotion, all of it is just wasted. And then what do you say to yourself later? Oh, but no, I did it for the experience because it's a good experience. Yeah, it's a good experience. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. You have to really think to yourself, am I ready for this relationship? Most people don't think. They just go head in. They just go head in, right? But if you don't, what happens is it's just painful. It is. If you're not ready, I have tons of people that always come to me and ask me about relationships, and they say, I don't think I love this person. I don't think like this. I don't think like that. And then it's painful. It's such a painful experience. I'm going to tell you something that's really, really crazy, guys. And this is something that happens to a lot of people is I know some people even who are older, like in their 20s, late 20s and 30s, who have lots of problems, that even though they don't love this person, they're not going to marry them, they're still with them. Do you know why? Because they haven't done anything bad to them. So they feel bad breaking up with them, but they're just together. It's really weird, right? Not loving if that's the number one thing, that should be enough for me to say this is not going to work out, right? So that's why knowing the purpose is so important, guys. You need to know the purpose of why you're doing it, right? That purpose becomes such a big thing for all of us to understand. It's like, yeah, if you don't know why you're doing it, then why are you doing it, right? So all these different things we have to really understand is we have to understand how fair life is. Well, life kind of seems unfair, but no, you have to make yourself know the purpose, know that everything is fair. If you make yourself like this, you'll find someone like this, right? and that is God is fair. Or we could just say we have to understand how people are always like or want to be with people that are like them. And of course, the last one is you have to count the cost. You got to know what you're getting into. Because if you really want to be a doctor, if you really want to be successful first, if you want to mature first, that's a good thing. But don't let these like chemical changes and biological things like say to you like, oh no, this is it. This is love. No, it's not, guys. And I'm dead serious. In most of the cases, it's not. There are very, very, very few cases like this. Most of the time, think about this, when people come to me and ask about relationships, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Do they come to me like this? Oh, Pastor Sky, such an amazing. They don't. No one comes to me when it's good. They always come when it's bad, right? So I hope that kind of gives you guys an idea of what it means to count the cost, what it means that we have to be the ones that understand what is fair. We have to raise ourselves, develop ourselves first. And also we have to have that absolute purpose. What is the real reason why I'm doing this? Don't do it for dumb reasons. And how do you tell? If you use that reason, if someone told you that you're in a relationship with, how happy would you be, right? I'm with you because I'm lonely. I'd be like, man, that's terrible. I'm with you because I'm bored. That's terrible. I'm with you because I just want to experience life. That's terrible, right? It's the worst thing. Like I wouldn't even want to be with these people, right? So I hope that helps you guys out. And that means we're going to go into a time of question and answer. So those of you guys, start posting your questions. Those of you guys here for the first time here on Espresso with Sky. Yes, it is quarantine time. That's why I'm in my room doing this. Usually, we have a green screen and everything else. But those of you who are here for the first time, go ahead and sign up. Go to the Espresso with Sky YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. So every time a new video or we go live, you will get a notification for this. And I hope that you guys had a good time today and we'll be able to do even more. All right. So we're going to get into question and answer and we'll give away some free bubble tea. So let's go to the first question. What's the first question today? First question today. Oh yeah, one more thing is those of you who like to do Bible study on Saturdays, we have a CU Saturday at the Southeast Asia CU, on Saturday, and then we do the small groups. All right, first question is, if you never get into a relationship, then you never understand what it's like. Isn't it good to experience it? And the answer is, like I said, experience is a good thing. It is, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it shouldn't be your reason. Like, hey, if we never get to a relationship, I never know, so I should just try it. That's like saying, I've never tried drugs. I've never tried that. This is something that really affects your life, right? So you want to do it, right, when it's going to be a proper good experience, right? Honestly, are you going to learn anything from your experience dating someone at 6? And the answer is no. At 10, no. At 14, no. Because we look back now and look at people in high school like, oh my gosh, that's how you guys are terrible. That's crazy. That's not real dating, right? When we look at people in high school, in middle school, and we look at them that's no one does it. No one would ever do that. Can you imagine in your office where all the girls are gathered, all giggling, and when the guy comes with when the guy walks in, no one would do that. Putting pictures up on the wall of these these actors and actresses in their office. No one does that. It's crazy, right? So what we need to do is, but you need to make sure that you're ready so that the experience is not going to be a wasted experience. Because I'm telling you guys, a lot of times when you're really young and you don't understand it, it's a wasted experience. It's a wasted time of emotion, a wasted time of time, money, effort, everything else. And it's not even a good experience, right? So yeah, if you I understand what you're saying, but you need to have a good experience, right? If someone's 6 years old and they want to get married, that experience does not help them in marriage if they're too young, right? And if they're not mature, they don't understand themselves. How can you date someone when you don't even know yourself? And you're just with them because you're lonely? That is an issue someone has to deal with themselves, okay? All right, thank you. That's Kim in KL, I believe, right? Next question. What's the next question? Next question is Ellen. Ellen in Singapore, and the question is, I have a hard time being alone. Isn't it better to be with someone in this case? Okay, so now we have to get into purpose, right? So remember those 3 things I talked about. We have to think about the purpose of why you're with someone, right? If you're lonely, it has nothing to do with reproduction, physical touch. What do you mean by lonely, right? If you're lonely, get friends. If you're lonely, get a best friend, someone you can talk to. Why? I tell you right now, these physical things, they're not the things that make people feel less lonely. It's not. Because if physical things were the number one thing that made people less lonely, then the people who are the least loneliest in the world would be prostitutes. Wouldn't that make sense? If the physical thing was the most important thing that stops loneliness, then prostitutes would be the least loneliest in the world, right? And that's something that we have to really think about there also, okay? So yeah, if it's better, it's not better to be in a relationship. It's better to have friends, make friends, do things with friends, right? Loneliness is, you can overcome loneliness with connecting with people, right? Really deeply connecting, having deep relationships with others, okay? All right, so let's go into next question from Alyssa. I believe Alyssa is from, I think Alyssa's the one that asked last time. What if you find yourself super attached to someone you spent years with? How do you cope now that you have to be strong by yourself and not look back to that relationship you're not prepared for? Okay, so one thing I would say, Alyssa, is a great thing that you just brought up about yourself is being self-aware, and I think that's a great thing. Just the fact that right, that you've been attached to someone and now you really, oh no, how's my life going to be without this person? The great thing is you're self-aware. Like, you know that you kind of attached to this person, right? And what's going to happen is a lot of it just means you need to take a lot of time away. Like, what does that mean? It means that just as much time you took to get close to each other, it takes time for you to forget or get away from that feeling too. That's why time heals everything, but it takes time. So if you, like, for instance, the thing you don't want to do is take time off and then you miss him and then you start texting him. That's the wrong thing to do, right? Because you're just connecting again. You got to cut it off and you got to do your own thing. Sometimes, I'm going to tell you this, is sometimes it's better to be in a place where they are not. Sometimes it's better to kind of change your direction in life or try a new hobby, but you need to start putting things into your life that are going to, like, things that you like, that you can do, and things that are meaningful, right? That can take in this spot. But like you said, you already know that you're not prepared for the relationship, which is a great thing to be self-aware. A lot of people aren't self-aware like you, and that's awesome, right? But the next thing is just the realization that just as it, 3-4 years you're together, it's going to take some time for that feeling to go away. It takes time, right? So as long as you understand that, you need to really cut it off for a certain amount of time so you're not really thinking about them all the time. But of course, in the beginning, you're thinking about them all the time. But you need time, right? I'm going to tell you one thing about human beings is human beings are amazing because human beings are very, very good at forgetting or getting used to new environments, right? It's like someone takes a poo in the room and it stinks. Give it 10 minutes, you don't really smell it anymore. But it takes time for you to adjust to it, right? So for you too, you need to adjust. You're going to take some time to adjust, but don't just sit there doing nothing. That's the worst thing you can do, because all you're going to do is think about this guy all the time. And you don't want to do that either, right? So you have to find some stuff to do, get really diligent in your schoolwork, hang out with your friends more, other different things like this, right? But just know that it's going to take time, and don't worry if you think about them every once in a while. It's normal, okay? Thank you, Alyssa. That's a great question, by the way. All right, let's go into the quiz question today. Quiz question of the day, okay? Quiz time. Question is, what holiday is it in America today? And it has to do with turkeys, right? What is the holiday in America today? Okay? Okay, so let's go into the last question of the day. Okay. All right, so it says, how do you make someone who has been in a relationship with many people realize that God's love is more precious? Okay, so this is someone who has faith, okay? So there's someone who has faith, and they're asking a question about making someone realize about God's love, right? And is more precious than God, or how to tell someone who's currently dating someone, right? How to tell without offending that person. Okay, so number one is the only time it gets offensive, right? So this is Haku. The only time it gets offensive is if you force them. That's when it's offensive, right? That's the only time it gets offensive, if you start forcing them. How dare you? How can you do this? You don't know how great God's love is, right? And well, here's the thing. As someone of faith, how would someone know how great God's love is? And the answer is they need to experience it themselves. They will never, ever understand how much greater God's love is than the relationship they're in until they really experience it. And it's not something you can force on them. It's something that you can show to them. It's something you can pray for them and everything else, but you can't make them understand God's love. And that's something, it just needs time, right? They're going to realize it or they're not going to realize it. We cannot force it, but we have to be the ones that basically show God's love to these people by taking care of them, right? Like the worst thing you can do is tell them, what are you doing? I can't believe you're doing this. No, God is better than your boyfriend. Like, you know, love is, there's no force in love. If someone wants to realize how great God's love is, then they have to realize how great God's love is. And that's something on their own. Our thing, right? The only thing we can do is just show them God's love, and that's it, right? But you can't force anything in there, okay? All right, so let's go into our bubble tea winner of the day. Today's bubble tea winner, do we have it yet? Today's bubble tea winner is, let's see. That's the end. That's the last question. So, who's today's winner? Today's winner. I see one name. Only one name. All right. The quiz winner today, we're going to choose the 5th answer that was right. And the winner is who? The winner is? Hello? Hello? Okay. So, the winner is on Facebook. It is Rose Bernardo Arnaldo. And on YouTube, it is Melissa Wu. All right. Congratulations to Rose and Melissa Wu. Make sure you send an email to espressowithsky@gmail.com and we will send you your free bubble tea. But do not forget to take the picture and send it to us before next week's Bubble Talk. All right, everyone? Everyone have an amazing and awesome Thursday. Hopefully we'll see you guys on Saturday for See You Saturday. There's a link there that if you want to join. If not, we'll see you guys again next week. Everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.